Hello, 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 my beautiful sisters in ministry out there. It's Reverend Jocelyn here for another episode of Impact Woman. I am your host, and I have been blessed to build my own ministry by the grace of God that helps people to heal from trauma. And now I help other women to answer their call to ministry. And I do this show week after week to bring women before you who have also answered that faithful call, whether they've been called to start a nonprofit, write a book, speak on stages, whatever God has put on their heart, we want you to be inspired by the amazing impact women who I bring on this show week after week. Now, this is actually now pre recorded because we tried to do this interview live. And unfortunately, we ran into so many technical issues. We were like, I see you, devil. I see you trying to stop this message from getting out there, but we won't be discouraged. We're going to record this episode again and then post it and watch this episode go viral because it's going to be that amazing. And so we understand how the enemy works. But again, we're not discouraged because the sister who I'm about to interview has such an amazing testimony and a powerful ministry that you are going to be blessed by. And so I am excited to interview today Yolanda Carter, who's a Chicago native, a resilient public figure, devoted mother of 5 adult children and 11 grandchildren. And she is a survivor of a fatal assault in 2016 that nearly took her life. And now she has taken on this cause. She has championed a cause to fight against domestic violence and to help other survivors to experience healing in their life. And so I'm so grateful to have with me Yolanda Carter on the show. Thank you, Yolanda, for joining me and accepting my invitation.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform today. It is truly a pleasure. Thank you again.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Now, Yolanda, I remember meeting you a while back. We met in October of last year during Domestic Violence Awareness Month when I was hosting an event. And at that time, you came up to me with this big smile and you were talking about all the great work that you're doing being a survivor. And I would actually like to start there by you sharing your testimony of surviving domestic violence. And so please start there with your story.
Well, my name is Yolanda Carter, and I am a mother of 5 adult children. I'm also a advocate for domestic violence abuse. Not oftentimes when we go through domestic violence, we really identify that we're really in a domestic abusive relationship because a lot of it becomes something that is um, done and it's we're not educated on what domestic violence really looks like. So with my first encounter of domestic violence, it was in the 80s. I had no knowledge of it. I didn't have a family dynamic of any type of abuse growing up. Never watched it, never heard of it. So it was something that was very strange, or it's like something that was going on that I really wasn't able to identify with. And as I was 19 years old in my first encounter of domestic violence. So at that time, it was called Lovers Core. There was no, um, paperwork issued or no restraining orders or anything to that nature. It was more so of go cool off point, cool off period. Go take a walk. And when they come back, it's just like ain't nothing ever happened. You all apologize or whatever, and you all go from there until it start off again. 2016 was a year that my life had changed for the rest of my life. My life was altered through one individual that I trusted. I met this guy. We was at a repast. He was very good looking and very debonair, charming, very charismatic, attentive. I met him at a repast, and we were just having casual conversation, and the conversation just led on to day every day. It was just we just was so inseparable, and we didn't want to just be apart. So He was the type of man that would, introduce, when I would get off of work, he would like just come over by my house. I would cook you something for dinner or lunch or whatever. I was a driver, for, pace paratransit driver. So there's times I'd be out there lost, didn't know which way I was going, but he was like a map. He would tell me what direction, what turns to go to. So it was just all I was so happy to have somebody like that. And he was the type of man that everybody was like happy to be around, like the life of the party. And for some reason, the light switch came on. I started witnessing him being overly intoxicated. He would drink, and it would become something where he would start being belligerent and disrespectful. And I just like, okay, whatever, I just overlooked a lot of those bad behaviors because I was just like, okay, well, as long as he don't drink, he's an amazing person. I mean, he was an amazing person. And that's what made me stay as long as I did. But there was some writing on the wall, some red flags and some warning signs that I did pay attention to, but then I still dismissed it because we make excuses for bad behaviors. There was times when he would get in my face, and he did tell me one day. He told me that if I was anything like I used to be, I would crush your dome. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to do anything to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I would call the police. But I started putting him out a few times. I did put him out a few times. And because of the disrespect, him calling me the B word and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I don't have to accept this kind of behavior. That's not acceptable. I never had to witness nothing like this, never seen it. So I know that I have to be responsible for my own safety. And so I started just, I would argue back with him. And, he was like 11 years older than I am. And I mean, because he was so good to me and charming, I just was like, okay, this is not never going to happen. So on March 22nd, it was just like a normal night. I went to bed March 21st at 12 a.m. in the morning, and not knowing that I would be waking up and shooken by my son and paramedics and the police. And I was trying to figure out what was going on until to find out that my knight in shining armor, the person I trusted with my life, had went and got a hammer and brutally beat me and left me to die in a pool of blood. And I'm just so grateful that God spared my life. Not even that. Every night I would go to bed, I would have my Bible open every night. So God spared my life and shielded me from the pain. So as I was being treated, I was just talking to the paramedics because I was trying to find out what had happened to me. And that's when my son said he beat you with a hammer. And the first thing I said, well, why would that somebody do something like that? And he would, and then I just kept talking, trying to gather my thoughts and everything, trying to figure out what's going on. So I just kept talking to the paramedic, the people, and telling them, don't let me die. Just don't let me die. They decided, they told me, you're going to live, you're talking. So once I got to the hospital, I realized that there was nothing they can do for me there because I was in too bad of a shape, and they made it clear that we cannot do anything here for her. So they let me lay there, and my daughter was trying to figure out, so what are you all going to do with her? And they was like, we're going to have to send her to a trauma center. And that's when they said they was trying to work on my eye to see if it was working. There was no sight in my eye. They couldn't believe that there was no brain damage because they said that people do not survive what I went through. And I just, it was like an out of body experience. Like I really I didn't feel like what had happened to me, if that makes sense. I didn't feel it like this is really real, but this is what happened. but I'm still here because what they told me was that, ma'am, people don't survive this, and you are a miracle. And I just started feeling like, once I got to the next hospital, I don't remember anything else. All I can remember was everybody coming to the room, and they just, everybody was crying and everything. And I was like, just trying to figure out what's going on myself. So after initial shock of everything, um, I started instantly getting these PTSD, these, like I started shaking. I was starting to bite in my mouth and hearing like this boom in my head. And it was just really like a lot going on. And I just started just trying to figure out what's next. So they had to take my eye out. And so after they removed my eye, I was still seeing like these shapes inside. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's what people see. Like you still see stuff that is not there. And like if you lose a limb, you still feel like it's there or whatever. So, but these shapes, like it was there for a long time. And then all of a sudden, just knowing that this had happened and I wanted the world to hear my story. So everything had started happening so fast after the initial thing of just getting through the process of what really happened to me and dealing with family helping me, and I had to learn how to do everything all over again. My life was truly severely altered, and I had shown no emotions. I was just like numb. I was physically numb, and I didn't have no emotions. I couldn't cry. I couldn't do anything because I was still in shock. I couldn't believe that this had happened to me. Everything was just so crazy at that time. And then I had the surgeries. The surgery, it was one surgery after another one. And after one surgery, it started off to be 13 reconstructive surgeries later after the initial shock of everything happening, all the surgeries, going in and out of the hospital um, from March 22nd to the last surgery I had November of 2022. So I was able to be, if you can see my arm, I was able to be my own donor. They had to cut the tissues and the muscles out, and they had to put a flap over here. They had to lift my face up. I have a prosthetic. But right now I have a spacer. I have a spacer in there because the prosthetic normally hurts. So I don't wear my prosthetic, but I just wanted to live a normal life. So when I got to the second time when I went to go see the plastic surgeon doctor, I had a team of doctors, an ophthalmologist, a plastic surgeon. I had a infectious disease doctor because not only that, having all of those surgeries, it starts setting up infection. So it was just a situation where I was talking to the plastic surgeons, and they gave me so much hope. And I was feeling like, oh my God, I'm so when I tell you I was so disfigured to the point that it was just like no hope for me. But when I tell you those doctors, oh my, whew, I had the best plastic surgeons in the world. They they changed my life. And I tell you, I want to honor my doctors. They changed my life. And all I can do is say thank you. I just thank God every day that God gave me my life back. And when I tell you that this has really changed my life, I wanted the world to hear my story. I started speaking up on different platforms. The news media captured my story. Then I started being on other people platforms, then the radio, then being honored by the Cook County commissioners and state um, um, the state attorney's offices and Windy City Lives and all these different platforms, just trying to get my story out there to help someone else. And so many of us don't even realize that we are survivors, that we are have been a victim of these circumstances because we are so incomplacent and saying, no, that's not my story. I'm not a victim. I don't do that. I've heard people say that they're not a victim of domestic violence because they fight back. But that's still, you're still a victim because anytime a person that put their hands on you, it's not okay. We have to let our people know that it's not okay to have no one put their hands on you, to belittle you, to make you feel worthless, to have you walking on eggshells. Also to let you know that when we have children in the home, what is teaching them is one or two things, that you're going to become the abuser or you're going to become abused. So we have to be very mindful what we are doing in front of our children.
We have to be mindful. We do have to be mindful. And for you, talk about your process of establishing beautifully scarred. Talk about when you decided that you were going to start a ministry, and what that process was like of starting your domestic violence ministry.
Okay. So what I did was, like I said, after being on a lot of major platforms, I, people wanted to donate money and funds and stuff like that, but I didn't have a cause for no one to donate. They would give me funds and stuff like that, but I was just one day I was talking to a young lady, a friend of mine, which they met me through like you see me on on the platform and stuff, and they asked me, "Do you have a fundraiser? I mean, a nonprofit?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have one." So that was the day that those two women of God blessed me, gifted me a nonprofit organization, and told me to get my people and so I can be incorporated. And once that started, they asked me to give them the name, what it was going to be, and to get the people that I wanted to have on my board. And that's where it started. It started in April of 2021. That's where it started. So through the process, you're not knowing how to navigate this process. You don't really know. It was a struggle for the first 2 years. It was a struggle because I had nobody that really knows the meat and the potatoes. And when you start a nonprofit organization, you have to be able to know somebody that's very knowledgeable about, getting, your board, knowing the Robert's Rules of Order, and learning what to do and how to do, because I'm not going to play with the I, the R, or the S. Okay. So we have to make sure that we are on the same page, making sure that we are trying to make sure we do the same, these meetings. It's not easy. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna be honest. It's not easy. It's not an easy road, but it is worth it because what does is it shows you how important it is for other people out here, what you're doing to help them. So every year, what we do in the commemorate of what my demise was, what we do is have a rebirth celebration, which will be this year. Will be going on 9 years, March 22nd, and we are going to be having a rebirth. We're going to be having a rebirth brunch and honoring ceremony, which is going to honor other survivors. Every year, this is something. It gets bigger and bigger, and I'm so happy to be able to um, shed light on, just give someone else, put a smile on someone else's face, but because so many of us, we, like I said, go through domestic violence abuse. So beautifully scarred is something really near and dear to me. I sit here and I try to figure out ways to do things to be able to support other people, um, connect with other organizations, because what we are a survivor to survivor. What we do is, you know, give out the resources because we're not a brick and mortar or anything like that. We are a resource organization that bring the resources to people, and if they need support, we collaborate with other um, organizations to make sure that we are able to give the people what they need. So that is something that I'm just happy to be able to be a part because beautifully scarred, we still growing. It's still a task, but we are not giving up. We can't give it up. Giving up is not an option.
It's a lot of work with nonprofit management, and as you're talking about your story, it seems like this is something that was not planned, but it was someone who came to you, people came to you to plant the seeds, and it's been this organic movement, this organic process, you developing.
It was not planned at
Right,
all.
right, and so with this, I want you to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the challenges that you faced in establishing your domestic violence organization, and how did you go about overcoming some of those challenges to help you to stay focused on living out this mission?
Okay, yeah, because in the beginning, I sat on it for like maybe a year and a half because I didn't really know what to do. I was just, you know how you ask people and then you still not able to figure it out yourself, and then your board don't really know because we're all learning together. So it's like, okay, nobody knows the meat and the potatoes, so now we have to try to figure this out and stuff like that. So it was times, I'm gonna tell you, I ain't gonna lie, it was times when I just was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this but I knew that God gifted me this and it had to happen. And when I started seeing more and I started meeting poor people and I started realizing that it's easier than I really, because it's just like going to a new job. You don't know how that job is going to be until you really there because what you see is those new rules that they tell you. But then after you there, you be like, oh, there ain't nobody abiding by those rules and stuff like that. So it's just like anything. Like if we got a new bike, we got to fall off a couple of times. So at the end of the day, we all are better together. So now that we're getting ready to when it's time for everybody to come together, we get it done. And if you can see those photos and pictures that we have on social media, the events that we do for the domestic violence events, the rebirth events, we honoring people, those are so much. I mean, it just brings so much joy to my heart to know that what we're doing is not for us, it's for someone else.
Right. You're very involved. All in the work, all in the work. Now, for a sister right now, who they've gone through a traumatic event, whether it's domestic violence, maybe they experience like another event, like a tragic loss of some sort, sexual assault, whatever it was that they experienced. And they feel like, okay, with this, as I'm healing, because we can be healing from this, from whatever we've gone through for a long time. I still want to do something to help others. What advice would you offer a sister who feels called to do something in response to the pain that they've gone through?
Okay, well, I'm going to say this. First of all, let them know they're not alone. And I strongly suggest that they um, be led by God, first of all, and allow God to use them to work through them. Because I'm not going to say use because God don't use us, people uses us. Okay. So when it comes down to wanting to do something like that, even through your own pain, there's purpose. So, whatever your purpose or your plan is, you do just what you need to do because it's not where you've been, it's where you're going. And don't get me wrong, everything had started happening so fast for me. I started getting on all these platforms and stuff, and I didn't know that I wasn't okay at times. I knew I was not okay, but I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to tell people that I'm not okay. I just a couple of days ago, last week, month of March is very difficult for me. I sat in here and cried. I just didn't know why, how, what am I going to do? how just these build up emotions just start coming. So I just need to let the next person know that although that you have these emotions and these feelings, still push past it as best that you can. It's okay not to be okay at times. And I had to learn that because I was like, oh, I have to be strong for everybody. Everybody looks up to me. They see Yolanda out here doing all these amazing things, but behind the scenes, they don't see the cries. They don't see the pain that I go through, all the things I can't, I can't even eat food. I can eat food, but I can't taste or smell my food anymore because this is the side of your senses. I, a lot of things that my life have been altered, but I still have enough motivation in my heart to still take me out the way and do for others. So I tell the next person, do it. Whatever it is that will make you happy, you do it because that's what keeps you. Because, like they say, the idle mind is a devil's workshop. And when we sit still too long and complacent in our own mess, we have so much time to think about the what if or I'm not a victim anymore. I am a survivor. I'm an overcomer. So I want to let you know that you can overcome any obstacle. You just have to want to do it. You don't have to stay a victim.
And Yolanda, I thank God for your ministry. I'm grateful for you. And as we close out this interview, there's a couple things I do want to share for the survivors out there, or those who are currently experiencing domestic violence. First, there's help out there. And as Yolanda mentioned, sometimes you don't even realize that you are in an abusive relationship because it doesn't start off escalated. It starts off oftentimes with like, oh, that was strange, or oh, this seems like, you know, they're having a little attitude all of a sudden, or I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And as time progresses, then you're like, wait, I don't feel safe anymore in my house. And this could be emotional abuse, which is rampant in the church that individuals can experience. And there's all different types of abuse. Financial abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, as we heard Yolanda say, spiritual abuse. So there's all different types of abuse that someone can experience. And so if you are experiencing this type of abuse, then I want to encourage you to reach out for help and doing so discreetly. You can find out information on how to do that by visiting the domestic violence hotline. There's going to be information in the show notes where you can find out more information about that. And again, discreetly. So that you can identify a safety plan if you do decide that you do want to get out of that relationship, or at least know your options. Obviously, we have Yolanda here who has a great organization as well that you can learn more information about, supportive resources, and find yourself in community to support you through this process. But then lastly, I want to say this, that the healing journey, as Yolanda mentioned, cannot be done alone. She talked about we're better together. And with that, if you have experienced this level of trauma, the emotional healing journey, in addition to all the physical that Yolanda described, is one in which I encourage you to get support, whether it's through an organization like hers, which is a support group, or through a program where you're getting counseling, one-on-one support. Whatever you need is important that you don't go through this alone, because as Yolanda mentioned, there are days as a trauma survivor that you are not going to feel your best. There are days where you are going to struggle with moving forward, but you are a survivor. God has kept you here for a reason, and we want you to know that you are going to make it. And so, Yolanda, as we close, you have an upcoming event, and even if someone's watching this after the event takes place, say a little bit about how people can support you and where they can find out more information about you.
Okay. Well, yes, on March 21st, we will be having a event. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it is, I'll send it to you. So we are doing a um, March 21st, celebrating my ninth year annual rebirth and a third year annual brunch. and honoring ceremony, which we will be honoring three individuals. One is a survivor of domestic violence, one is a survivor of sex trafficking, and there was a male, his daughter was murdered by gun violence. So we are honoring those three individuals. And what we're doing is just giving, a sense of hope to people that are not recognized. There's so many times that people just go unnoticed, and we want to highlight these people and give them a sense of hope. So you can reach out to me, all social media platforms, Yolanda Carter. Also, Google me. That's my favorite tagline. Google Yolanda Carter Chicago, and that's where you'll see everything what I do, my social medias, my event that's coming up. Everything is on there. But we look forward to having you all come out if you are in the Chicagoland area, even if you are in another state and you want to attend. You are more than welcome, and we would love to have you. So. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Reverend Jocelyn. It was truly a pleasure, even though we had some technical difficulties, but it was well worth it. And like I said, that your life can change in one blink of an eye, and it doesn't take a long time to get over, because everybody has a healing progress, and everybody don't heal as fast as others. It takes a lot of layers and peeling off a lot of layers to be where you want to be in life. So I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. So I thank God for grace and mercy. I thank God for Him shielding me from the pain of feeling that hammer that day, because I can't tell you what it ever felt like. All I know is the aftermath. And my son, thank God for my son. He's my hero, because with him thinking quickly, I am here. First, God woke him up to allow him to come to my rescue. But the damage was already done. But I'm here to tell my own story, and no one's telling it for me. And that's what makes me happy.
Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Well, Yolanda, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad we pushed through the technical issues to have you here, and God bless you as you prepare for your upcoming event. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll be sure to spread the word about the great work that you're doing. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it.
So I thank God for having Yolanda on the show with us today, and I hope it inspired you to answer your call to ministry, whatever that may be. And if you know that you have gone through something that was very difficult, and now you hope to use your experience, whatever you survived, for something good to help inspire others, then we do encourage you to start your ministry. And I want to bless you with a free gift by encouraging you to visit sisterstartyourministry.com, where you can download the free ministry launch starter kit. Also, be sure to check out the resources below, our show notes below, for more information about counseling services that are available for you if you are a survivor, as well as other information on how you can plug into domestic violence resources to support yourself or someone else that you love who's experiencing domestic violence. So that's it for this week. Sisters, again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you stay encouraged, you stay blessed, and you continue to make impact in this world. I'll see you soon.